18 now, and U.S. Senator Bill Cassidy is visiting the lake area today. He's making several stops, including the LNG and gas summit at Gold Nugget, the reopening of BioLab, and the North Lake Charles Kiwanis Club luncheon. But first, he's right here with us at 7 News. Good morning, Senator Cassidy. Thanks so much for stopping by. And of course, the first thing we want to talk to you about is the oil and gas industry. That is such a huge industry here in Southwest Louisiana. And I know you've been very outspoken about not being happy with the Biden administration's handling of the oil and gas industry.
Yeah, since the first week the Biden administration came in, they've had a war on oil and gas. Now I say it's a war on oil and gas, it is a war on oil and gas workers. Because this creates well-paying jobs that create a trajectory for a family that gets better over generations. Your child goes to a better school, your family is happier, you take a nicer vacation. But it also means this war is that we paid more at the pump and that we paid more for our utilities. And so now we see, by gosh, internationally, Europe needs our oil and gas. So I think finally the Biden administration is coming around to where they realize the importance of that which we in Louisiana have always realized the importance. Let's take care of our workers, take care of our environment, and take care of our utility bill and our gas bill, creating good jobs along the way.
And I think one of the things that the war in Ukraine has highlighted is that we need to stop depending on other countries for things like oil and gas.
Yeah, so when the Biden administration came in, we had energy independence. But we lost that energy independence and now have to go, please, Saudi Arabia, please don't increase your prices or that sort of thing. When we are energy independent, again, we're creating jobs, we're keeping prices lower, but we're also helping the rest of the world be more stable. The Biden administration didn't figure this out. That's got to change.
So what is Operation Warp Speed and how will it impact the industry?
Yeah, so think about all the great jobs created in our oil and gas industry. Right now, the Biden administration is kind of killing them by not giving permits, by taking months, even years, in order to kind of work through a process that should go more rapidly. We know government can do better. During the COVID epidemic, for example, under the Trump administration, taking the tools Congress had given them, Operation Warp Speed developed a vaccine that they said would take 3 years to develop, was being given in 10 months. If we are serious about developing North American energy resources, creating all those good paying jobs, let's line up our agencies. If one's got a problem, work it out before you leave the room, and let's get that permitting done more rapidly. We can have more oil and more gas being developed, creating those jobs along the way, and we can do it here in the United States if we speed up that permitting. This would be Operation Warp Speed for permitting for oil and gas.
Wow. And I know you're a keynote speaker today at the LNG and gas summit. How important is the LNG industry to America and to Southwest Louisiana?
Oh my gosh, if you look at our challenges, let's create good jobs for the American people. Let's keep the prices lower so our economy is stronger. Let's also push back against Russia, who's trying to push back against us. And clean up our environment simultaneously. Liquefied natural gas does that. Again, creating those jobs, helping the rest of the world clean up their environment, pushing back against Russia. It is a national security tool. It is so important, and this is the epicenter of that. Lake Charles is where it just comes out from. And so Lake Charles, doesn't surprise me that conference is being held here. This is where it's at when it comes to LNG.
Okay. The holidays are coming up. They won't be so merry for a lot of families as this inflation continues to skyrocket. What's being done in Washington to kind of get that under control? And I know that you've also been very outspoken about the president's handling of that.
Yeah, so part of the problem with something which has fueled inflation, there's been about $2 trillion, at least, probably $3 trillion, that the Biden administration has spent that everybody said, wait, don't do that, it's going to trigger inflation. But they did it, and sure enough, inflation was triggered. So this November, the November that started yesterday, will be the midterm elections. The American people are going to send a signal to the Biden administration, we don't like your policies. You've driven inflation. You've spent money that you shouldn't have. You've had a war on North American energy, which has made us pay more for our gasoline and our utilities. Stop, stop, stop. They're going to vote Republican, and they're going to register that. And for Republicans, we're going to try and put in permitting reform. We're going to try and get more energy resources out there. We will stop the unnecessary spending the Biden administration has been doing. Inflation will come down.
Okay. Senator Cassidy, I know another issue that you are very passionate about is veterans programs.
Yes.
Making sure those who have served our country get what they need. What is being done there?
So we just passed a bill that would require the VA to call a veteran 3 times in the first year after they leave the service. Let me explain. Most veteran suicides occur within 6 months of leaving the service. That camaraderie, that meaning and purpose, you lose that, you become depressed, it can lead to a spiral downward. If the Veterans Administration's calling you at month 2, hey, how's it going? Hey, you need a job? We got job training. You want to go to school? We have educational benefits. How is your mental health? Oh, well, not so good. Where are you? Lake Charles. There is a very good VA clinic. Let's get you plugged in. It just gives that checkup, kind of like calling your mother when your mother's not doing well.
Yes.
But in this case, it is our veteran who has served us so well, and trying to make sure that he or she gets the services they need. The Trump administration put this in for a brief trial. It worked. I authored a bill with others that got signed into law. Now it's law. VA will be calling these veterans 3 times that first year, touching base, getting them the services they need, and we think decreasing that suicide rate, but improving their adjustment to society.
So important. And we're running out of time, but of course we have to touch on one of the most dangerous situations facing America right now, and that is the deadly fentanyl crisis. I tell people all the time, no other country has to attack us, just send us over some of these pills, and we're taking care of ourselves.
This is bioterrorism. 100,000 Americans are dying every year from overdoses. So there's a lot of ways to fight it. We got to control the border. We think about 200,000 people coming across the border every month, but a lot of drugs come across the border at the same time, flooding the zone. It comes through the mail, delivered from China. So we've put in legislation that have begun to decrease the amount of overdoses pandemic hit. People despair. There's a scripture, there's a proverb, if the people have no vision, they perish. People without vision perished. So lots of things to do. Let's give them a vision. Let's create those good American jobs so somebody has a reason to live. But also, let's control the border. And then I have several pieces of legislation making it easier for law enforcement to enforce the laws for fentanyl in order to bust somebody. They can change it chemically a little bit and scoot around the law? No. Boom. If it's like fentanyl, if it looks like fentanyl, if it affects like fentanyl, it's fentanyl. Let's crack down on it. So we're trying to give even more tools to law enforcement to crack down.
All right. Thanks so much for stopping by. I know you have several stops today. We appreciate you taking your time.
Hey, wonderful to be with you this morning. Thank you.